Hey friends, Elena Motonono here, and I help online language teachers move away from one-to-one classes so that they can fall in love with teaching and preserve their sanity and peace of mind. Have you ever tried to start a book club? Invite all of your students together once a week to discuss a book for several weeks in a row, maybe several months. Well, if you have, you know how difficult it can be trying to bring people from different places all together at the same time in a Zoom call. You're trying to juggle different people's priorities and preferences and time zones, and it can be super exhausting. Before you even start the book club, you're already tired trying to arrange the logistics. Well, I'm here to tell you that you can run a book club asynchronously without ever having to meet in a group call. Today, I'm going to share with you a template from my Asynchronous program in a box. You can learn more about it by clicking the link in the description. Asynchronous program in a box is a collection of 10 templates of different programs that you can run asynchronously, that you can scale, that can give you freedom, peace of mind, and really reinvigorate your passion for teaching languages, the very reason why you started this business. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can run book clubs without having to meet with your students on a Zoom call. There are certain things that you can do to make your book clubs effective that your students will benefit from. There are 9 more templates in my Asynchronous program in a box. And if you want to dive into them and learn more about how you can teach asynchronously, I invite you to sign up. There's also a guide on how to market, price, and sell your program, because usually that's what teachers struggle with. So let's get to it and take a look at the template itself. So friends, here is one of the templates in my Synchronous program in box. And here I'm talking about putting together a reading club. A reading club is a wonderful idea for the students who are intermediate and advanced, and you kind of run out of idea of what to do with them. Also, it's a wonderful concept to try out during the summer or any holidays, because your students may not be available for one-to-one classes, but when it comes to reading, if they are into reading, this is something that they enjoy doing already, and you're just capitalizing on it now. It's very important to choose a book, especially if your students are not ready to read in the target language as much as you would like for them to do. So my recommendation is to use short stories and to keep your book club or book reading program to 3 or maximum 4 weeks. You can offer one group class at the end of the program if you want to, but it's not going to be the selling point of your book club. That is where I see online language teachers go wrong and then struggle, because they offer these weekly meetings that people cannot commit to. And then as a result, even though they like the concept of being a part of a book club, weekly commitment is too much. And sometimes as teachers that are used to teaching every day, we feel like, well, why is it it's only once a week and they not commit to it? But it's hard if you're paying for 4 sessions, and if that's the core of your offer, which usually is, if you are not used to selling anything that's not one-to-one classes, or that's not personal interaction, that's not time for money, it is a huge loss to me as a student, or to any of the students that sign up, if they sign up and they have 4 classes and then they have to skip 2 for one reason or another. So you want to offer to them an asynchronous reading club that you can run on a voice chat. And it's incredible to use a voice chat app to discuss a book, and your students can send you their personal responses through direct messages. And then if you have several people, you can keep a group chat. And in the group chat, people can talk about the subject matter based on the program and the prompts that you will have created. So for those who teach English, I recommend several books, but you can, of course, choose whatever short stories you like. You can find some young authors. You can find short stories on medium.com, so they don't necessarily have to be books, and you don't necessarily have to get your students to buy books. So that's just an option. Also, an option could be a poetry program. But that is specifically for people that are advanced level, that are able and willing and open to learn how to talk about the language in an abstract way, how to speak conceptually if we're using the teacher speak. You definitely do not want to put that word on your sales page, because you want your sales page to be very accessible to your potential students. This is just a side note, but this is one of the tips that I share in the Asynchronous program in a box about how to promote your program, how to speak to your clients, how to tell them about the value of this book club. So I give several suggestions, like Maeve Binchy's Chestnut Street, Kim Edwards, Jhumpa Lahiri, Bettina Gapa, who's a Zimbabwean writer, and I am going to use her short story as an example in this document. Now, when you market your book club, there is so much that you can do, and I absolutely love it. Actually, when I was writing down these ideas, I just was wondering like how much I would have loved to teach that myself back in the day when I was teaching ESL. And there's so much potential to talk about your specific subject matter with your audience. You can talk about the story, and you talk about the insights that you're learning from it. Then you can use the content of the story and show the vibrancy of the language, as opposed to doing these dull word of the day thing, you know, that everybody does on Instagram. You can do something different. Then you can talk about the culture, and specifically, you know, as I will be giving you an example from Bettina Gapa's book, there is a deep cultural aspect there that you can bring and incorporate. And it is so much bigger. Every short story, and that's why I love teaching short stories, because every short story just goes way beyond the few pages that people read. There's so much depth. And the shorter the story, the deeper your program is going to be, and the more content and maybe like enthusiastic your students are going to be, because they will feel like not only have they finished the story, which is harder when you have a long book, but they will have gone really in depth and built the vocabulary and confidence and all those skills that can be transferred then into their workplaces or their schools where they are using English. So you can engage your audience by giving away one copy of the book if it's applicable. You can interview some of your participants if you already had book clubs in the past. In the newsletter, you can share links to read and listen to the interviews with the writers. I absolutely love that. Anytime I read a book, I need to listen to somebody's interviews, to the writer's interviews. And during COVID, when some writers whose books I read, they could not do book tours, they did lives, and it was incredible because you could just be there and see this person even though they were not located where you were. Then there's lots of optional things, and I add these spin-offs, I call them spin-offs, to the asynchronous programming box, because every asynchronous program can be turned into a digital product, can be turned into a bigger and longer product, can be turned into a series of programs. Like, for example, if you choose Nora Ephron's stories And then you can watch one of her movies, like You've Got Mail or Sleepless in Seattle. Then her sister wrote a memoir after Nora died, and it's also a beautiful story about their family. And so you can go deep and talk also about the fact that Nora loved New York, and maybe the people that are in your group would like to learn more about New York and read her stories about that. So here's the example of a reading program, and I based it on Bettina Gapa's story from her book, An Elegy for Eastleigh. She's a Zimbabwean, contemporary Zimbabwean writer, and her short story is called The Cracked Pink Lips of Rosie's Bridegroom. There is so much in the story. And in the center of the story is this woman, young woman, who is marrying a man. His name we don't know. Her name we do know, which is kind of interesting and something that I bring up as one of my prompts in this example of the story. And so this woman is marrying this man, and all the people that are coming, they're witnessing this picture when they see the man's cracked pink lips, which is the sign of AIDS, and people are really familiar with that. And as you read it, you hear people's thinking while they are at the wedding. People are looking at her and thinking she's going to be the next, because the man already had several women who died of AIDS. And here he is marrying again, and this woman is clueless, and none of the family or the community is standing up for her and telling her the truth. And it's such a revealing and eye-opening story. And it's very short. It's literally 3 or 4 pages, but you can divide it here on book-based theme and cultural insights. That's how I decided to go about it. And for 1 week, I give the prompt of the story doesn't mention Rosie's bridegroom's name. Why do you think it's significant? So your students can share that in their recorded messages. And then you go into cultural insights, and that is usually your prompt number 2. Maybe you consider reading an article on folk AIDS remedies and superstitions, because this is another theme in the story of how different people cope with this. You know, the community tries to hide it because it's shameful. They don't speak the truth. The community also tells the man to go and find healing, and there's no lack of charlatans giving their own cures. So the best strategy for a new reading club is to keep it simple and short, and bringing people together to discuss not just the book, but also the insights from the book, the story, gives this richness and gives a lot of opportunity for your students to interact with the text, which is the whole idea of a reading club. It's not just to read and look at grammar, right? Or write out the unfamiliar vocabulary. It's also to learn. So along with that, I give a template with some kind of ideas for the prompts, and then you can use the language that you are teaching and find short stories in that language and use this template and adapt it for your specific situation. I hope you enjoyed this video and it gave you enough ideas and strategies of how to put together a book club without ever bringing people into a group call. If you're interested in how to teach asynchronously, this is something I've been doing for years. I've been coaching online language teachers since 2016 on how they can move away from one-to-one classes and really scale their businesses without incredibly labor-intensive online courses that require huge audiences and huge marketing experience. If you want to know how you can do that and leverage what you already have, you can sign up for the Asynchronous program in a box and get all those ideas in one place. You'll get a bonus on how to create a digital product where I take you behind the scenes of how I created my mini course, how I went from generating an idea to actually making sales. You don't need to spend a lot of money on the subscriptions. The tools that I have used to create my products are the tools that I will share with you in the Asynchronous program in a box. The link is in the description. You can click and sign up today. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. And until next time.